Hey everyone, welcome to the Client Success Customer Support Executive Brain Trust. Today we had a great discussion about breaking away from traditional employee incentives and moving in a more unique direction. So we had a great lightning talk presentation, and then we went into breakout rooms to further share maybe some of those unique incentives, those unique ways that we employ, or those unique incentives that we give to our employees. Nathan did a fantastic job, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Nathan to kind of overview and summarize what he discussed, and then we're going to open it up to this panel for them to kind of share what they learned in their breakout rooms or what they're doing inside of their organization. So, with that, Nathan, why don't you kick us off and just give us a quick summary of what you talked about today?
Oh, thanks, Paul. So today's lightning talk was really about understanding your team and the motivation that has them come into the office each day, and then crafting incentives around that versus trying to hit a one size fits all like we have typically learned throughout our careers. And by having that understanding of the motivation that kind of drives your team, it makes what they're working towards meaningful, and they perform better when they want to achieve something that they actually care about. And that's really the gist of this whole presentation: knowing what motivates your team, crafting things that mean something to them, and having them work towards something they care about. That gives good customer relations, that improves customer experience, and that is successful for the entire organization.
Lovely. Thank you, Nathan. Some of the ideas that you shared that I thought were really interesting is just embrace creating a career path that leads out of support, um, giving employees opportunities to go to trade shows. And like you had already said, focusing in on creating that sense of belonging. So I'm just going to open it up now and ask those folks here on the call what they'd like to share. Steve, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Two things that we had did in our organization. There were We were bound by a lot of the corporate level incentives that we were and weren't allowed to do. Two things that we did. One was just simple email recognition. If you were, instead of waiting till the end of the quarter, where we would do these big quarterly recognition programs, if we had a customer renewal, or we had a great customer meeting, or we advanced the customer in some way, shape, or form, I would send an email out to the organization to just recognize them. They appreciated it, but they get recognition from their peers as well. And I think they appreciated it more from their peers than they did me. And it was a simple, easy way to do it. Plus, it incentivized everybody else to say, "Hey, I want to get recognized too." So they would try to do things on their own. And then the other thing that we did was I would do a, "Hey, why don't you take your significant other out to dinner and expense it?" So not a gift card, not a gift certificate, not a Visa gift card, but it was just, hey, go out to dinner, $150, whatever it is, and then just expense it. And it kind of flies under the radar a little bit, but it was a nice, easy, motivating way to thank somebody for doing a great job. And it brings in the potentially a family member, or significant other to celebrate with them.
Steve, what you just said is brilliant, actually, because I have been the beneficiary of many of those dinners. And I can tell you that the company creates an advocate in the spouse or in the partner. And that's really smart. I remember being in Seattle. We went out, we had a great sales trade show. They're like, hey, go out to dinner. We went out onto the pier. We had this amazing dinner. And my wife was like, this is an amazing company. So that is a great idea.
Yeah, conversely, we for the longest time, our organization, when we would do the sales winners club, where they go on this nice special trip, it was just for the individual salespeople. They weren't allowed to bring a significant other, and it wasn't until about probably 10, 15 years that they changed that. And it made so much sense to bring in the significant other to go on this great nice trip.
Brilliant. All right. What other thoughts do we have out there? What are some of the other unique things that you heard while we're getting ready? For some of you, someone shared tickets getting pulled every month to win prizes, and those tickets basically were off of CSAT. So every 2 weeks, this individual would put tickets into basically a raffle, and every 2 weeks they would pull out one of those tickets. So the more CSATs you got, the more entries into the raffle you got. And he said it was a really positive experience. I thought that was really kind of cool. What were some of the other ideas out there?
So in our group, one of the paths we went down was actually kind of talking about what you're incentivizing. For example, one of the things that came up was a lot of us are really working to increase knowledge base articles. But there's two thoughts on that. Do you do the number of knowledge base articles, or do you look at incentivizing if your knowledge base article was used? Because if you do just the number, you can write a whole bunch of knowledge base articles that maybe aren't useful, but if people are actually clicking on them and using them, you can get that number and do some kind of incentive based on that. So, it was the discussion around not only how do you incentivize, but what are you incentivizing for? And it ran the gamut of, company type initiatives, KB articles, AI prompts, AI error checking, but also what kind of incentives can you do from peers? Your peer caught you doing something, and now they give you, one company I worked for had treasure bucks, and your treasure buck had actually written who gave it to you and what they gave it to you for. And after you collected so many, you could cash those in for merchandise or gift cards or a day off, or there were different prizes that had different values. And it was actually a peer recognition that was pretty popular.
Amazing example. Thank you, Donna. You had me thinking, if you're building the knowledge base, that knowledge base is going to be a knowledge base for AI in the future. So you want it to be as high quality as you possibly can. So how important is it to think about exactly what you said? Nathan, thoughts on that?
I was gonna say that's a real important thing, Donna. And the prior to my existence, they incentivized creating KB articles, and the amount of trash that was in there, copies of PDFs that were just dropped in, somebody creating an article that linked to another article that linked to another article. So I think, yeah, it's a matter of what we're incentivizing, but also the value in what's being incentivized as well. If the agent doesn't find value in the knowledge base, and because they're already convinced it's full of garbage, like my team was before I brought on a knowledge manager, they wouldn't have even bothered to do that. So I think, yeah, being very conscious about what you're incentivizing is awesome, and definitely a great direction to look in on that.
Excellent. This is great. Any last thoughts?
I think that now, using AI, and as Donna mentioned, good knowledge-based articles can be converted into videos or maybe into something more interactive rather than, reading an article that, I don't know, it can be a page article, maybe it can be like, 4 pages one. Now we can actually start converting text to visual or to something that is more interactive. I don't know, maybe a flow from text. You can create a flow, click on A or B, and then the rest of the flow will continue based on the selection. So I think using, generative AI can convert those articles that we all used to read. Sometimes, maybe it's too long. That's why I'm not reading it, to convert it into something more interactive.
Excellent point, Alex. Thank you for taking us to the edge of what we can do and where we are probably going at full speed. Love that thought. Alan, why don't you wrap us up with what you covered in your room, and this will be the end of our panel discussion.
I think our group focused a lot on investing in people and spending time mentoring and training and really working with people on an individual level. And when you do that, people just appreciate it so much that that's even a greater incentive than the financial ones.
Great stuff. All right, everyone. Well, Nathan, thank you for the stimulating conversation. Everybody else, thanks for your full participation in breakout rooms and all the considerations here. This has been a great panel discussion. I'm taking away a lot from it. I hope that all of you watching this will join us in our future Brain Trust sessions. And with that, we'll catch you next month.
Thank you.